name is Victoria Arbiter and I am based in New York City, where I've lived for more than 2 decades, covering members of the royal family. You're watching Royal Report and I'm joined by a very special co-host over the pond in England.
And I'm Dickie Arbiter, Victoria's dad, in London, one time Queen's Press Secretary and also the King's Press Secretary when he was the Prince of Wales. Now, I want to tell you a story. When I turned 50, I did turn 50 in 1990, Diana said to me, Princess Diana that is, I want to give you a birthday lunch and you can invite 20 people and it'll be at Kensington Palace. I thought, great, terrific. So my mother was over from Zimbabwe, my wife was there, and I thought, well, Victoria's got to be there as well. But she was at boarding school. So we jumped in the car. I'd phoned the headmaster saying, yeah, we were going to collect her, but don't tell her anything. And we arrived at school. And he always went in the middle of the week to pick up a child if there was a problem. I'll throw this one to Victoria, let her pick this one up, and how she felt when I arrived.
I was absolutely horrified when you arrived because we were going on a school trip to see cats and we were all very excited. We were getting out of school for the day and you said I had to go with you, but you wouldn't tell me why. And as you said, if a parent ever showed up at school during the week, it meant you were either in serious trouble, you'd been caught smoking, or someone had died. Now, I knew I hadn't been caught smoking because I was the world's biggest square. I was so scared of getting into trouble. I didn't think anyone had died, but you would not break. You wouldn't tell me where we were going. So I watched all my schoolmates load onto the coach to go into London to see cats, which I did later see. And I hopped in the car with you, Granny and Rosemary. So we drive into London, nobody is saying a word and I'm getting more and more and more concerned. And suddenly we draw up to Kensington Palace. We weren't living there yet. And we drove the long driveway and we went in and suddenly the realization is starting to dawn about where it is that we are and who we might possibly be meeting. So we pull into the forecourt of Kensington Palace. You have to get past the police guards to go through to there. We knock on the door and we're at Diana's house, her own personal private residence. And she had never, until that point, and she never did afterwards, throw a private birthday party for a member of staff. So you won't say it, Dad, you're way too humble, but I'll say it. It just speaks to the fact that she held him in really high regard and was particularly fond of him. So we go into Kensington Palace and it's very rare that I am short of a word, but I was rendered totally non-verbal. I could not speak. I was utterly mute. And this was twofold. On the one hand, I was dressed like a man. I am not kidding. I was wearing the most horrific burgundy culottes you have ever seen in your entire life, and a man's shirt with olive and burgundy embroidery down the front, because I'd been told to wear my nicest clothes, and in those days that was considered nice. Oh God, it was awful, awful. Not a lick of makeup, frizzy hair in a ballet bun, of course. Anyway, we go in and Diana, she just had this remarkable ability to disarm people immediately. She'd make you feel comfortable, and so I went to curtsy, and she at the time was patron of my school. I was at Elmhurst Ballet School and she loved ballerinas, she loved the ballet. She would go to the ballet whenever she could, and so I delivered my best curtsy and she quickly said, that's the best curtsy I've ever seen. Completely disarmed me, of course, but my ballet teachers would have been delighted. Anyway, she led us into the drawing room, and on what should have been a work day, there were other people from the office, all having champagne. And then she led us into the personal dining room, her personal dining room, where there were a lot of other very special surprises. And I think, Dad, it was your party. You should be the one to share all of that.
Yeah, the special surprises, there were helium balloons on every chair. I think there were 2 on every chair. There were party poppers, there were streamers, you name it, they were there. And we sat at the main table. I think my mother sat next to Diana and Victoria sat close by. And we chatted over lunch, a terrific lunch. Her personal chef had prepared a lunch. And at the end of the lunch, there's always got to be a birthday cake for it. Now, you may remember in around about 1990, there was a mobile telephone, the brick. It really was in the shape of a brick. And this phone arrives, it's a blue icing, and on it, because I always had a mobile phone with me wherever we went on engagement, and in icing it said, you're never alone when Dickie's got a phone. It had a candle and it had a sparkler in it. And it was absolutely fabulous. We let off party poppers, we left with our helium balloons, big photograph outside. Fortunately, Dinah wasn't in it because she actually took the photograph. And it was quite a special occasion. as Victoria said, she did it for me, and she'd never done it for anybody else before or since. So it was very, very special, wasn't it?
But I think I need to add the attention to detail again. So yes, you said there was a candle and a sparkler, but it wasn't just kind of your average sparkler. When it was lit, it was going, I mean, it was like a firework coming out of the cake. And then the helium balloons that you referenced as well. Again, we saw Diana's humour. They all said nifty 50 on them. I'm not sure how nifty you were, but you were definitely turning 50. But she had overseen all of the preparations, and those personal touches were really special. And she gave you a birthday present as well, which... I mean, I'll let you share the details of the present. It wasn't something that you would typically wear, but I think it remained wrapped in tissue forever just because it was such a special gift as well. I'm sure you've probably still got it.
I have still got it. She gave me a bottle green V-neck cashmere jersey. I have worn it once. It is still wrapped up in tissue. It is still in my drawer at home. I might wear it again. I don't know. I tend not to wear jerseys at all. But it's still there. She also gave me a tie the year before, an Hermes tie. She was like that. She loved giving presents. She liked more to get the reaction from the people that she was giving to. And my goodness, my face said everything.
And actually, it's her fault that you wear those insanely bright coloured ties like the one that you're wearing today. Because there she was giving you a classically beautiful, stylish Hermes tie. But she did have a comment for you about ties, did she not?
Yeah, she always had comment on my ties. In fact, late Queen had a comment. At the very last reception at Buckingham Palace, she was there, and our retirees always had words with her. And as I took my leave, there was a twinkle in her eye, and she looked at me and she said, "I see you're still wearing those dreadful ties." On that note, see you next time. Bye-bye.